Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, hello, hello. Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Your inputs. Testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. it's just, I mean, no matter what I try plugging into on this thing, it just sounds terrible.
What if the camera just picked up and he had a microphone going?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can pull the plug on the microphone.
I didn't set it up, I just brought it.
Oh, you don't know who did it?
I don't know who set it up. Well, I hope it's not lost, because plugged in. That could be part of this is pulled out. I mean, I've only got this jury rig.
Test.
If you want to, one of us should go in there and talk. Or you want to talk to it?
Test. 1, 2, 3. Test. Test 1, 2, 3. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Test 1, 2. Test. Do the do. Test to Lou. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Q, R, S, T, U, V. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Q, R, S, T, U, V. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Q, R, S, T, U, V. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
In there? So, it just doesn't. I've tried so many different outputs on there, and they all sound the same.
You got into a main output.
I know, but I've tried all kinds of outputs on
So
it.
should it go into an input?
No. The soundboard is outputting the sound to the camera.
Soundboard outputting sound to the camera.
Yeah, and then the camera melds the sound in with the video image. So you need an output from the soundboard.
You tried these two big ones, main out, right?
I've tried damn near every output on there.
So you remain the
This is not pleasant way to listen to it. Where did you, is this to the computer?
yes, those two are the I would, however, take these two things off of here, plug them in there, and plug them in here.
Well, there's more, I've got,
Take this guy off of here.
yeah.
Up and down.
Test.
So it still works. So that's going there. Walk over that.
Think this will work in there?
Well,
Let's go try it.
I think that microphone works.
Test. Test. So we've got something going. Well, it's better than...
Hello, how are you doing? Hello, how are you doing? It's not so bad if you hold the microphone a little bit away. So I don't know.
You want to try what?
Here, you
see
hold
what the
it.
recording looks. Sounds like it could do the.
Think it'd be... Should I go back in the other room? Yeah. Test.
See, that's the testing I was doing before. Oh, that's that's the other thing.
Test 1, 2. That's not so bad. Test. Yeah. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Test, test. Lou, I think we go with this. How does that sound? Let me try the other mic. Test, 1, 2, test, test. Can you hear me on this mic? Test, 1, 2.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's probably just because that's a line in, and this is, or that's like, it's a different setting. You know, there's different levels of output and different things, and if you don't match them, you know. But I don't. Do they splitting them sooner would matter? Yeah, I tried getting near every output on this board. So I don't know.
That wasn't horrible. Here, talk for a minute. Let me hear it.
Once upon a time, in a galaxy far, far away, Tom lived with his mother. Hello, how are you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, hello, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello. So Tom, tell me, does it get quieter now when I turn this volume down? Or is this still the same volume, or is this quieter? Is this still the same volume, or is this louder? Is this loud? Is this quiet? So if I have the volume all the way up, like right there, well, see, the thing is that there's speakers up here at this volume level. They're barely outputting. There's a headphones output right here, which we could control the volume separately on. Can we go from this? We need to go from this to RCA or something. This right here, right? Pull that out. Yeah, that should be the same one. Yep. I don't have any idea. Here, do you want to just call me on my cell phone so that we can communicate with each other? Okay, Tom, can you hear me out there? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me now? 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 Hello? Hello, hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. I don't see a volume for the headphones. Where's the volume for the headphones? Phones, here we go. Phones. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, Tom. What's that? So it's still, so you can hear me talking and it still is kind of like muffled. Yeah. If I turn this volume down here, does the volume go down on there? How about now? The volume is good on there right now? Is the quality any better at that volume level? Okay. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn it up a little bit louder. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Well, mind you, I have the volume on the computer cranked all the way up too. How's the volume right here? Well, how high do you have the computer volume turned down? How's the volume right here? All right, but it still has that like talking in a. Because there wasn't a buzz when we were plugged in to the other location. Hello? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2. Hello, hello. Yeah. I don't know. Hello, hello. Hello. If you take it further away, it gets. I mean, it's like we have to turn the gain down on the microphone and turn the volume way up on the system, and maybe that'll be better sound. I don't know. Hello? So that's cranked. That's cranked all the way up, and it's not very loud is the problem. I can try one more thing here. I'm going to try. All right, I'm going to take the gain on the microphone all the way up. Now, does that sound any better, Tom? It sounds worse? All right, I'll bring the gain, try bringing the gain down and cranking the volume up higher here. Okay, now how does it sound? Hello, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You there, Tom? Hello, hello, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just not, no matter what we do, it's just not. How is it now? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, I think I was just speaking further from the microphone before. Turn, I don't know which gain. I mean, there's the headphone gain. Well, I put this microphone volume. If I turn this volume down, does it change the volume at your end? Does not change it, does it? So now, with the headphones connected, the main volume on the board does not affect the computer sound. Well, this is all I know how to do. I don't know how to do anything more. Do what? What's which gain? There's the head. I can't hear you very well.
Hello.
Woo! All right. Well, I'm just gonna
start speaking my language. I know, right? Hello, Dad. All right. Kevin, do you mind? I'm going to give this to you.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
No, I can turn it down.
Everybody. Yeah, we're all broken somehow. And we're studying this book. And found it so incredible. Just unbelievably poignant as to what we're trying to achieve with the ministry we started. Good breakthrough now. And we made a phone call, and Father said, give him a call. And we made a phone call, and it was saying God did the rest. He's brought him to us. Please welcome Kevin Shearer. that I've learned mostly from Father John and actually put them into practice in my life. And I'm grateful to God that he actually got to edit the book several times before he died. It's probably the greatest gift that he's ever given me. And he was the one who said, you need to polish it. So fast forward to today, and now I'm in a place where I realize that to understand what it means to be truly human, which is what this book is about. What does it mean from an Orthodox Christian perspective? From a Christian-centered view, from a scriptural standpoint, what does it mean to be human? I understand now that you can't understand what that means unless you can tell the difference between these two words. Ordinary and normal. You see, after my divorce, loss of ministry, I had really kind-hearted, well-meaning people come to me and say, Kevin, it's okay. You're only human. I can't tell you how many times that was said to me. And of course, again, very well-meaning people. But it bugged me. It bugged me. I thought, something's not right about this, because when someone says to you, you're only human, or we're only human, it typically means what? Okay, just a man. What?
We all mess up.
We all mess up. We all make mistakes, right? We're fallible. There was that achy part in me from seminary, from the priesthood, that said, there's something not right about that theologically. Because if that's true, if what it means to be human is to be broken and flawed, then what does it say or mean when we say that Jesus was fully human? Do we say that about him? That distinction and that sort of bird that's stuck in my saddle, so to speak, that's what really drove so much of this book. Because I think that Christians sometimes have a very flawed understanding of what it means to be human. And all of it sort of sits in between these two words, ordinary and normal. Lent is probably the most perfect context to understand those words. Because in Lent, the church gives us a worldview, right? It gives us a narrative. In fact, we say as Orthodox Christians that the narrative that the church gives us in Lent is the only narrative. It's the only worldview. And it goes something like this. God created man in his own image. It was a divine risk, a divine act of vulnerability. Because God made him in his own image so that man would fall in love with God. That's why we were created, to fall in love with God. And the hope was that would spill over, that love for God would spill over in every other relationship that we have with other human beings, and even for the entire cosmos. But that's not what happened. Humanity was duped into thinking that life, significance, identity, meaning, that all of that could be found outside of God. It can be found somewhere else. And in man's search for identity and meaning and significance and life outside of God, he found death.
so sorry. Can you hear me now? Wow. Sorry. Okay. So sorry. So instead of finding life, man finds death. Not just physical death, but death for his soul. For his soul. Instead of finding life, he finds fear, anxiety, suffering, pain, darkness, all of these things. And the Lenten services reveal this about the narrative, right? In fact, we just celebrated Forgiveness Sunday, Forgiveness Vespers. I don't know what your tradition is here in the parish, if you all do the rite of forgiveness or not, but wonderful, good, most beautiful service of the church here, in my opinion. But in that, we see that sin, that brokenness is cosmic, that it's never secret and private, that it's public, that all of us are affected by it. All of us, as soon as we're born into this world, are immediately made victims of a broken world. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not accountable for it ourselves, right, as we become adults and so forth, but we're immediately victimized and traumatized by the fact that we live in a broken world. And so we go and we ask forgiveness of one another, but in the background, there's this beautiful light, music from the Paschal hymns, right? And so you know that in the midst of all this darkness, there's something else. The Lenten services show us that brokenness, that death, that sin, that grief, all of this is ordinary. It's ordinary. Lent's difficult for us sometimes because somehow we think that our sin is somehow extraordinary. That's the reason why we hide it. That's the reason why confession is so difficult for us. Because somehow we think that no one else's sin is like our sin. No one else's circumstances are like our circumstances. That somehow there's something unique about us. We're the Orthodox unicorn, right? But I will tell you that sin and brokenness is terribly ordinary. In the dictionary, if you look up ordinary, the definition is expected. The Fathers tell us that we're to expect this about ourselves. It's part of living in humility. Father Thomas always used to say that humility is defined by living in reality, accepting reality. The reality is we all live in a broken world, and we are part of that brokenness. We are not only part of that brokenness, but as we are victimized by it, eventually, because we don't deal with it, we end up perpetrating that brokenness on others, our children, our spouses, our friends, strangers. And this cycle of brokenness, this cycle of sin continues. Fortunately, the other part of the narrative is that the Father found our condition, our brokenness, intolerable. His love for us is such that he found our brokenness intolerable. And so he sent his only divine Son to become human. To become human. And this is where the story begins, about what it means to be truly human. In John 3, Jesus says that he's come to fulfill all righteousness. He comes to fulfill all righteousness. I don't know if that's ever sounded peculiar to you. What does that mean? Well, Jesus comes to fulfill what every other human being had failed to fulfill. And that is love and obedience to the Father. Perfect love and obedience to the Father. We all failed in that vocation. That's what God created us to be, to fall in love with Him. And we fail to do that. We look for life in other places. But Jesus came and lived a different life. And He was fully, truly human in every way that you and I are. But He lived this perfectly loving and obedient life, even unto death, St. Paul says. And so on the cross, when He says, "It is finished," what is finished is that the perfect sacrifice is finally offered to the Father. What is that sacrifice? That perfect sacrifice? That perfect sacrifice is someone who is fully and truly human. He came to do what none of us could do. I can't tell you how unbelievably hopeful that is for me. So in our baptismal services, right, there's this beautiful image of dying with Christ and being raised with Him, right? So Jesus, He enters into death. He dies physically, but He is life Himself. There is no death in Him like everyone else who had preceded Him in the grave. There is no life in Him. And so when He enters in death, death can't hold Him. Death can't hold life. And so death is obliterated. And so the life that we live as Christians through baptism, the life that we're given, is not our own life, somehow reconstituted. But the life that we live is His life. And that life is what is normal. Normal has to do with what we are conformed with, conformed to. Ordinary is what is expected. What we can expect of this life and of ourselves is brokenness. But the life that we have been offered to step into, His life, is normal. And that grace exists for every one of us to live that life. But here's the catch. And this is what I've come to speak about this weekend. The catch is that all of that brokenness in our lives, all of that brokenness in my life, is real. It didn't magically disappear. It didn't go away. When we're baptized, somehow it doesn't erase all of the trauma that we've experienced in our life. It certainly erases our sin, if you will. It opens up the grace of forgiveness. It washes us. We're bathed. But it doesn't take away the reality of our brokenness. In the same way that when Jesus rose from the dead and appeared to His disciples, what did He still bear? The wounds and the scars of our brokenness that He bore for us. Those were still there. So if you're like me, and maybe you're not, you'd like to run from all of that. You'd like to push it away. You'd like to avoid it. You'd like to forget it. You'd like to press it down. You'd like to try to find something else to talk about. Any other subject. You want to keep it secret. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. But the brokenness of your life, your childhood, your family relationships, whatever it is. But can I tell you what is truly human, what is truly normal, is what moves towards the cross. And all of that brokenness that the Lord redeemed us from, the cross and the resurrection, that's what we have to walk through. That's what is to be redeemed in our lives so that we can be sanctified. We think somehow that avoiding all of that, that we have this new life and that somehow that there are two separate categories now. And I guess maybe you could make that argument on some theological level, but the reality is all that brokenness from our lives, it still shows up. It's still present with us. It shows up every day in our relationship with our spouses, our children, our friends, at work, at church. All of that brokenness, it's right there. It shows up. And that's the path that the Lord has given you. That's your cross to realize sanctification in your life. This is the beautiful thing. You don't have to go to any seminar. You don't have to spend a lot of money to go see Tony Robbins. You don't have to go anywhere. You certainly don't have to read this book. Your sanctification is your life. It's your path. It's right in front of you. And what the Lord asks of you and what our faith and the fathers, especially the desert fathers, encourage us to do is to be present with your life. We spend most of our lives in the past or in the future. That's where our heads and hearts are most of the time. The Lord invites us to be present, to see our lives for what they really are. So, I know statistically that in a room this size, also having been in ministry my whole life, I can tell you in a room this size, there are people here who have been divorced. There are people here who have been abused physically, sexually. There are people who have had substance abuse problems, maybe still do. There are people here with wounds of deep grief and loss from losing loved ones. Maybe a child, parent recently, I don't know. But I can tell you, because I know the narrative is true. I believe the narrative, and the narrative is the world is broken. And if the world is broken, and we have loss in our identity, then the one thing that is for certain for everyone who is born into this world is they will experience grief. The whole world is in perpetual grief. That's true. That's the reason why our faith is so beautiful and so hopeful, right? Right? And the Lord wants us to take the light of His resurrection into the darkness of all of that brokenness that makes up who we are. Makes up who we are. The Lord, after baptism, doesn't want the past of your life somehow to dissolve. He wants to redeem it. He wants to bring all of that into the light. He wants to fill it with His grace and His love. He wants to touch it. He wants it to be made whole, and then He wants you to be able to minister from those scars, from those wounds. That's what He wants. And so, if any of this feels or seems true to you in any way, if you've experienced this loss, this grief, this suffering in this life, and you're interested in exploring how the Lord can enter into that, then I would invite you to come tomorrow so that we can explore that together, talk about that. The church is a hospital. That's the metaphor that's used by all the fathers. The church is a hospital. And the physician wants to touch us, make us whole, so that love can spill over. So that's it. Thank you for the gift of being here tonight. It's been a long time since I've stood up in front of a group like this, in this setting. It's my pleasure. Some of that's heavy, but I want to be honest with you about what we're going to be exploring this weekend. And so a little bit about who I am presently, and perhaps why some of this is important. And so I finally found a way back to use some of my education and gifts, and I'm a chaplain for Tyson Foods. I bet you don't know that the largest food company in the United States employs 100 chaplains. Kind of crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway,
Why does Tyson Foods need chaplains?
so we have 122,000 people in our company, and roughly about 105,000 of those employees work on the processing lines, and in about 130 facilities across 29 states. And 60% of them are immigrants, refugees. The other Caucasian, African American, but the whole of that is for sure what we would call the working poor. And they have deep, deep vulnerabilities and instabilities in their life, and my job is to get to help these people, which is a great gift after the loss of ministry, a great gift. So anyway, I get to deal every day with lots of the evidence of brokenness, right? And